Hey, Kisma.
Hey Lauren, how are you today?
I'm good.
Yeah, you all settled where you were meant to go to?
Yeah, I'm settled in the motel.
Yeah.
A little chilly. I don't know if they warmed up the room that much, but I've got the heat cranked up.
Oh, well, I guess that's a good thing then.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So anyway, it's fine.
it's fine, right?
Only one night.
You come back tomorrow?
Yeah. I come back tomorrow afternoon. I'll be home by the time, like in time to meet.
Oh, okay, for the part two. Yeah. Oh, that's
Mhm.
cool. That's
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah. So
Well, I
how
don't
about
know. There's five people paid up for this, so we'll see. Nobody's here except you.
okay? Well, then maybe they're just running a bit late.
Maybe.
You know how people are.
Here comes Susie.
Oh, there we go.
She's connecting.
Yeah.
Hey, Susie.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
We're just waiting for a few minutes to see who's coming. There's five, so don't know. Don't know. You never know, but I'll wait a few minutes and then we'll get started. So, how's your day going or went? How did your day go?
Very nice, thank you.
Oh,
I
good.
met a friend for lunch.
Oh, that's always
Mm.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she wasn't feeling too bright. She was full of cold, so we just normally we go for like a bit of retail therapy afterwards as well. But I just dropped her off home so she could go and put her feet up, get back in the warm.
Yeah.
Aw, that's
Hard when you're not feeling well.
Yeah.
so, Susie, this is Lauren. Lauren's in the Oracle Lounge too, just so you know.
Hi.
Hi,
Nice to meet you. Where are you?
Angie.
Susie?
In the UK.
In the UK? Yeah, whereabouts?
Yeah. So I live in the north of England, well, northeast of England, place
Okay.
called Hull.
Okay. Way up in the north.
Yeah. Not as
Yeah.
far as Scotland, but yeah.
Is it near the border
Close.
then?
Sorry?
Is it near the border then?
No, we're probably about 300 miles away from
Oh,
Scotland.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's in the
So
north. Yeah.
about a
Nice.
4 hour, about a 4 hour drive. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's not too bad where we're at. We managed to avoid most of the bad weather.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Scotland have got snow at the moment, so we've just got the wet and the wind.
Oh.
The wet and the wind.
Yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
you won't like my weather. My weather. is- it's a
Please tell
temperate
me.
72 degrees
Oh my.
Oh,
and it's sunny.
sunny. Yay.
So, but
Yeah.
that's Southern California for you.
Uh-huh.
I'm
Yeah.
just
Which,
making sure, I'm checking the school real quick just to make sure no one's stuck or has a problem.
uh-huh. So where are you, Lauren?
I'm in Montreal, Canada.
Okay, lovely.
Yeah, it's a
Very
really,
nice.
yeah, we've been getting bits of snow, but we've been in a sort of a real cold zone, a freeze zone
Mm.
for the last few days, and it's gone below zero and it's
Oh, I
cold.
know. I've got a friend, I think she lives, I'm not sure where she is now, but I think she's in London, Ontario. And
Oh, yeah.
every time I say, oh, it's cold over here, it's like, and I tell her what the temperature is, she's like, cold? She said, that's shorts and t-shirt weather.
I
She
love
said,
it.
you don't know what
Uh,
cold is. Get your
yeah,
ass over here.
Brr, 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 brr.
it's
Oh,
what you
bless
get
her.
used to, though, isn't it?
Of course you do. Yeah, you acclimatise to to it,
Yeah.
don't you? I mean, I've always lived in when I was younger, I was born and raised and lived in a lot of hot countries.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
think I got so used to that as a child that now, as an adult, I just don't like the cold.
No, no, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Well, ladies, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I am not one to hold
Okay.
things up. I'm pretty punctual. I like to start
Hmm.
on time, but because this is like a special activity, I wanted to allow time to get in. But 5 minutes is max for me.
Okay.
yeah.
Because, oh,
Sounds
here we
good.
go. Here we go. Here's Susie. Oh, this is your note taker. Okay.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, totally okay. Okay, I have a lot of material to cover over in the next 2 days, a lot, because publishing is a huge facet. It's not just here, here you go. I mean, it's really intricate. It's really, really layered. And before I actually dive deep into it, have either of you published with a traditional publisher? Have either of you published your own book?
Yes.
Oh, what's the title? What book are you talking about Palette of Seasons? Because
Out of seasons,
you didn't,
yes.
I published that for you.
Published it. Yeah.
You
Oh,
didn't,
you're talking about if I published it myself.
yes, have you published your own book?
No,
Yeah.
no,
I just wanted to double check because I don't want to assume, Lauren.
no, no, you can't do that.
Okay, so Susie, how many times have you published?
Well, I don't know that you sort of class it as publishing. I use Amazon KDP.
Oh, that's
So
fine.
all
That's
I
still publishing.
so all I've ever done is that mine are more like journals,
Okay.
and I've created a couple of coloring books. Yeah, so mostly journals and coloring, but just
Okay.
to get a feel for it, and then obviously I've created some Oracle decks. So I don't know if that's not book
No, we're not
publishing,
looking at,
but
no, that's not book
um,
publishing. We're looking at
yeah,
books. We
yeah.
are.
So no, so just used Amazon KDP.
Um, I'm gonna apologize because I have a pup. She's not a puppy, but it hasn't gone potty for almost 2 days. And so it's gonna be during this that she'll go, oh, I must go. And then I kind of have her set up so I can just push her out and then let her go. Okay. But if that happens, I have to get up.
Of yeah, of
So I'm just
course.
apologizing right now for that.
Oh, that's okay. Fur babies need looking
Our
after.
babies need looking after. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and spotlight myself for everyone because I'm going to do a lot of talking. I have lots of space for Q&A, but let me get there because I've learned that in my workshops I cover a lot, and most of the time when someone has a question, I cover it during the talking of it. Okay, I'm one of those kind of people. I'm pretty thorough. Um, okay, so here we go. Hello and welcome. Thanks for joining. All right, so and I have copious like bullet points over here to make sure I'm covering everything that's important. And some of the information I'm going to be sharing with you is actually pretty. It even covers legal and finances, and so that's important. I think the the one thing I want to say right off the bat about getting published, whether you self-publish or you seek out a publisher, is um, if you've never published, right? If you've never gone that route, but you sit here and you say, I am a writer, but you've never written a book, um, know that it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. It's not just an easy, get to it and done. And the other thing about becoming, if you are a writer, that truly means you write almost every day or multiple times during the week. It's not just, I'm a writer. Oh, I'm going to scribble some notes down here. Over the course of my writing career, have had lots of people come to either a lecture, a book signing, a presentation, and almost someone comes and says, um, you know, I'm a writer, I want to publish a book, and my immediate question always is, have you written it? Oh, no, no, I haven't started yet. I want to write a book. Wanting
Mhm.
to write a book and having it an obsession in your heart that because you were born a writer, those are two different things. And I would wager that both of you and anyone here has that sense of obsession inside of them. You are a writer. You were born a writer. You hear that calling. It's not just a trendy thing to become to write a book and get published because it's a lot of work. It can become a full-time job. My first book was published in 1989 after serious daily writing. When I'm writing a book, I actually put on my schedule 3 writing days. It goes onto my schedule as if it's my work hours. I only work with 3-hour blocks 3 times a day to start off with. And during that time, I don't look at my email. I don't check what's going on. I mean, everything is shut down as far as the internet goes, as far as my phone. I'm at work and I have my Word document, which is what I work in now. But for years and years and years, most of my books were longhand. I actually wrote them longhand. And that was a whole process that I had to go through as a writer to learn how to switch my flow from natural to technology. And yes, my first book I wrote on a Singer typewriter. Okay, so this is it is professional. It is serious. But it's not about perfection. Nothing in life is about perfection, no matter what it is we're doing. And so I really want to just express that, to let go of all of that mindset. All right. Okay, so we're going to look at, defining that goal, on what publish ready really means. And I'm going to start off by talking first about seeking a traditional publisher and what that means. And also we're going to be looking at indie and what that means. We're going to be looking at the current standards, of what that means. We're going to look at the stigmas of what that means, okay? Because they're all important. And for example, the first thing that we're looking at, which is what does publish ready really mean? You have to do publish ready whether you're seeking a publisher or whether you're self-publishing. Because if it's not ready, you can't publish it. And that's the bottom line. And there's a very professional description with regards to being publish ready. And we're going to have Q&As, so trust that. But I want to look at why we have that terminology, okay? And that does come from traditional publishing houses, really recognizing that publishers expect you to know your trade. If you're seeking a traditional publisher expects you to present to them a professionally prepared manuscript. Yes, you can professionally prepare your manuscript. You don't need to hire somebody to do that. But what it really means is that you're following a special decorum. And that has to do with your fonts, your font sizes, your font types, your margins, your spacing, all of that. So I actually want to go over, just some basics for you to hear, for it to sink in. I didn't make this one as a handout. I have quite a few handouts, and I realized right before we started, I didn't put this list into a handout. So I will, but I want you to hear it anyways, because hearing and then reading and then doing are how things really sink into us. All right. So the font, 12 point, boom, 12 point, not smaller, not bigger. That's the professional standard. And believe it or not, even today, on this day, January 29th, 2026, the most favored font type in the publishing industry is Times New Roman. We've got all these gorgeous fonts floating around. They still, any publisher still wants to see Times New Roman. Arial is kind of acceptable, and the other one that's acceptable is called Garamond. And those have special places in a manuscript, and we'll take a look at those. It's okay to have up to 3 font styles in a manuscript. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. But no weird fonts, no cute fonts, no bold body text fonts. That's really important. Now, as a indie or as a self-publication, you can do whatever you want, but people in the publishing industry will go like this, and they won't read it. They won't even buy it because it's immediately too hard to read.
Mm.
That's the first thing you want to realize is whatever font you choose, no matter how cute and pretty, your readers must be able to read it. You know it like the back of your hand because you wrote it, you edited it, you put it all together, you sent it out into the world. So you know it, but your readers don't know it. And they need clear, easy to read fonts. So that's a real big thing for us writers, especially us creative writers, because we like the pretty. Trust me, I know. I know. Okay, so the other thing is line spacing, always double space. I'm talking about the manuscript getting it publisher ready. All right, so when you're writing it out, put it double space, whether you're publishing it or whether you're going to send it to a publisher. And the reason for the double spacing is because when you're writing it, it is nowhere near publisher ready. You haven't even entered into the editing phase, and you shouldn't enter into the publishing phase. Otherwise, you continually break the flow of your creativity. Write an entire chapter, write 3 entire chapters or sections. And on a day when you're just not feeling as creative, that's the editing day. Edit what you've written. That's a first draft now. That's a first edited draft of those. But ideally, and it causes us more work, but it's the best way, you write the entire manuscript. Then you sit down and you do your first draft of editing. And yes, sometimes what's up here that you suddenly want to add alters everything that's down here because you forget that you already covered it down there, and then you have to look at the 2 and decide. That's what makes your manuscript really tight, is we don't like the word revision. Okay, but there's no rush in writing a book. The longest book that has taken me to write was 5 years. My dad died and I put it on the shelf. So that's the biggest part. And then I went back to it, and then I worked on it for another 3 years. I'm not a fast writer. I am slow because I go into detail and subtlety and really making sure everything's in order. The other important thing about manuscripts, even published books, is not having a bunch of extra space between paragraphs or even sections. And the old 2 space is actually what's considered good, but I do 1.5. I'll be honest, I don't do single space. Also, I don't do double space. I do 1.5. So I cheat. But don't do what I do. But I'm being honest. I'm going to be honest with you because, we start out being really good and following all the rules. And here's the news. There are no rules in the publishing industry. And I'm going to give you some shocking. This isn't a rule that we all have been led to believe was a rule. All right. And then the other thing is indentation, the 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the tab for if you're going to end in a paragraph. It shouldn't be more than that. It shouldn't be less than that unless it's a justified paragraph start, justified with the margin. Otherwise, no more, no less than 5. So no 3s, no 7s. 5. That one is just a typesetter requirement, okay, with the publisher. Okay, the other thing is, here's one of the shoulds. Don't indent the first line of a chapter. If I want to indent the first line of my chapter, I will indent it. If I want to put a big old letter on my first word, triple the size of my font, I will do that. That's just a design decision. It does not mean a publisher will do it. It does not even mean self-publishing will do it. So you have to look at some of those things and see what's allowed and what isn't allowed in self-publishing. The other thing is a no manual tab. So don't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, at the beginning, preset your indentation tab, which if you don't know how to do it, learn how to do it on in your document program or on your typewriter. The reason why is because it will be different every single time manually. It will be different every single time. We don't think of it, but it will. And they will scream at you and they'll throw it back to you. We can't approve this. We can't approve this because it's off by 1/10 of a, they're sticklers, but that's the typesetter's job. And for the publisher, that's of course a whole department job. So the other thing is headers. Headers, top right or left, doesn't matter. You can put headers wherever you want. It just means be consistent. So I always have, when I'm writing, I always have I won't show you. I always have a notebook. And as I begin formatting, I format as I type, and then I go back and I do a complete formatting check after the book is completely written, edited, proofread, copy edited. I mean, I do a lot of layers. Then I will look at the formatting. But to begin with, it's easier if you, on a page, a sheet of paper, you actually indicate where you're going to always place your title, where you're going to start your paragraph, what font you're using in both, what size font you're using in both, how many tabs down, or not tabs, how many spaces down from title to first paragraph. And you just lay it out and you write that out on a sheet of paper, and that stays on your writing desk. And then you don't have to go, now, what was that? Did I use, what font did I use? Was it a 5? Was it a 5 font? Was it a 12 point? Wait, did I do 24? And then you've created a major mess for yourself. So just do yourself a favor and lay out your format and then follow it for every single chapter or part in your book. Okay, I'm going over a lot of stuff that maybe you don't think is important, but it's as a writer, this is what I do. And the title, the book title, you can choose your own book titles, but 2 things about book titles. No matter what book title you choose, if it's going to a publisher, if it got contracted and it goes to the publisher, there's no guarantee that you get to keep your title. The publisher will change the title according to their whim, according to what the current trend is, whether your book has the trend keyword. Right now it's cozy, everything's cozy, but it's true, and they will change it. And I have fought with a publisher twice on the book title change that they did with mine. One was for my book, The Gaia Tradition. This was originally calling Celebrating Earth in Her Seasons. And they fought me. I got to keep it as a subtitle, but they would, no, we're going to make it The Gaia Tradition. And I'm like, but it's not a tradition. Well, it is now. And believe it or not, you go out there and within the metaphysical communities, pagan communities, there is a living, breathing Gaia tradition happening out there. I get, this was published back in 92, I think, or 91. When was it? 91. I still get letters from people handwritten letters, you know, about the Gaia tradition. Now, what do you mean by, how do we do, and it's like, oh God, you know, so you have to really look at your titles for your own title choice. If you don't know what your title is, do yourself the favor and until you do, just make it untitled. Just put the word untitled. And then have a big sit down with yourself after you've got maybe the whole book written, just to open up to what the title actually is. I do that a lot. My titles will come, there'll be a line somewhere in the book, and it's like, oh, there it is. Boom. And it gets pulled out because it's maybe the most meaningful thing in the book. If we write to a title, you're going to do yourself a disservice. All right. Word count expectations. This is an important one. Okay. And what that means is, of course, how many words do you have in that book? And I'm just going to tell you what the standard is right now in the industry. If you want to call your book one of these and put it into this genre, okay? Because the industry dictates the genre and the word counts. We don't. As a self-publishing author, we don't get to do that. Fiction, adult fiction is 75,000 words up to 100,000 words. That's the standard. Okay, so, and it has gone up to 75. It used to be 72,000. That was a novel. And so I always shop for 72,000 words, but it has gone up. Young adult is 60,000 to 85,000 words. Middle grade school, 35,000 to 55,000. Romance novels, 70,000 to 90,000. Although indie romance novels are much shorter. They're much shorter than that. And then fantasy novels are actually huge. They're 90,000 to 120. Nonfiction are 55 to 80,000. Poetry, format driven, not word count driven. Guess what? It's whatever you want it to be. It's the only one that says you got carte blanche on how long or short you want your poems to be, or how many poems you want to publish in a single volume. So that's the only freedom one right there. And everything else doesn't count. I'm teasing, but everything else doesn't count. They look at it as oh, I don't have the word down here, a novelty books, like our journals, our journaling calendars, our little meditational books, you know, anything of that nature. There's no requirement. It's because it's novelty. It could be whatever. It could be one word. Did you know that? But it can't be blank pages. Did you know that?
Mm.
Okay, so most except for when you go into a template format that's required by a publisher like KDP, or even Blurb, they want doc. They want just a Microsoft Word doc or DOC or DOCX. That's what they want. They don't want PDFs. Don't ever send a publisher a PDF. They'll throw it out. It will actually get trashed. Because it's a final file. You know, they don't want to have to go in through another application to have to deal with it. And the typesetters, most of the typesetters don't have access to PDFs. That's a hard lesson I learned once. All right, let's look at self-publishing, and we're going to look at the pros and cons of traditional and self. Okay. First of all, for self-publishing, this is indie. This is what we call print on demand. Print on demand, okay? That came out first as indie. We were independent authors in the industry. And and then and as an indie, there were two formats that came out: Vanity Fairs, okay, and the print, and then the new print on demand. And both are legitimate. It depends on what you want, but um, the same standard manuscript formatting still applies, really, when you're writing. We don't write final. We write and then we format. That's really important, even though I just said format as you write, because because I'm so experienced, I can do that. No, I'm only teasing. I'm bluffing you. Actually, it's true, but I'm not going to say that anymore, because that makes me sound kind of arrogant. And I'm not an arrogant writer at all. I really am not. Okay. Um, What has changed in the recent years in the publishing industry? And looking at really looking at traditional. I come out of traditional publishing. I'm gonna share with you. Wait, am I speaking about it today or am I speaking about it tomorrow? Oh no, today is all about the manuscript, isn't it? Okay, so I'll just stay with my notes instead of go off renegade, because I have a way of doing that. Um, so everything in your developing your indie manuscript is the same as developing. So you're just developing, and you're just writing, and you're just using standard measurements for when you do the manuscript. And I hear what everybody is saying in their minds, but you just said you format as you go, and so doesn't that save a lot of time? Why should we just type it like a Word document and then go back in and change it? And if you've not done a book before, if you don't have the experience of doing book formats, every genre of book has its own format, its own layout. And the last thing you want to do is use a fiction layout for a nonfiction, or a fiction layout for poetry, or a fantasy novel for nonfiction, because they are different. And so it's important to know the layout you're going to use, what genre you're working with. However, when you're writing it, you just write it in a basic format, 1 inch all the way around, Times New Roman font, 12, 12 points, and you save yourself a lot of revisions later. Uh, that's the truth. And you make it easy on yourself too. You make it easy on yourself to edit. You make it easy on yourself to revise. How many times do I go through a manuscript? I write it, okay? I do have a working draft format, like I've said. I set that. I take time to set it on a notebook page, and I try to remain consistent with that. That's my working draft template. But it's not the final fonts, it's not the final font sizes. I know what my headings are. I don't even choose my final heading, title, chapter, division fonts and the sizes of them until I'm really, really setting it up for publication.
Mm.
And I'm not even gonna look at those right now. Okay. Here's what's changed in the recent years, because sometimes we think, oh, I'm just going to research this, and sometimes you get old information, even though it appears to be current. And so what I can share with you right now today is what's changed and what has not changed according to the industry standards right now. Okay. First of all, Agents no longer require courier fonts. Some people think that they have to have an agent to get published. We're going to look at that because in some ways it's true and in some ways it's false. But if you're indie, you don't need an agent. But agents required courier, but yet publishers Times New Roman. Yes, see the the contradiction going on there. Single space after periods is universal.
Oh,
Okay. No longer two spaces. That's important. Uh, Digital submissions, expect docs, never, I don't know what, never, 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 never. Uh, RTFs or ODTs. And we're going to talk about digital submissions next. Some genres accept slightly more modern fonts. Okay, a clean professional manuscript signals you understand the industry. Okay, that's what they look for. What has not changed? A manuscript should be invisible. Do you know what that means?
no.
It means that it should be invisible because I, honest to God, have no clue what that means. I've never heard that. So when I was gathering all this information and I went to my publisher and I was like, what has not changed? You know, they gave me the list. I looked at that and I was like, I can't for the life of me. I never knew manuscripts should be invisible. I don't even, that's not something that I've dealt with, never do. No distraction, no aesthetic experiments, no personally in formatting, just clean professionalism. So that hasn't changed. They just want a professional manuscript. That has not changed. You know, the writing should shine. That has not changed. Not the font, not the spacing, not the borders, none of that. And here's what they mean by shine. And this is really standard and has remained standard all the time. Never start a manuscript, a novel, with the weather. Don't start a novel or any book with the weather. Why? They don't like it. They don't look at it. And I've heard so many publishers actually say that. I've gone to, different workshops in the industry with agents. They say it with professional, they all say that. Never start with weather. Start in the middle of action. Action doesn't mean fighting, shooting. It means you're in the middle of something already happening. You're not sleeping, waking up. You're not looking at the sky. You're in action. You're in the middle of a dialogue. You're in the middle of an argument. You're in the middle of action. What it shows is that something has been going on before you became nosy. So that's your backstory. As a writer, I have whatever my main characters are, I actually write out a page about them. I find a description of an illustration. Like I use a lot of actors and actresses as the image for my characters when I'm writing novels, and I put that picture up, and then I describe what they look like. I describe it, and I give a quirk. I always give them a quirk. I give them a nervous habit because every single human being has a nervous habit. A quirk is like, well, hell, they do that all the time or whatever it is. So there's a difference between a gesture, a saying, that's a quirk, or man, they always wear red shirts. See, I'm going off of your red shirt, Susie. But it's a quirk, something they will repeatedly do periodically throughout your book. I'm talking novels, I know that. Okay. The other important thing about the beginning of your books is if that first sentence doesn't capture an editor, they go, and they might read the rest of that first page. But if it doesn't grab them and they turn the page and continue reading, your book is in the slush pile. That means it gets destroyed. It never gets returned to you. So, the first 3 chapters of your book are what determine to a publisher whether it's good enough to invest an editor into reading the rest of it.
Mm.
An editor decides if they're going to read the first chapter. If you catch them on that first chapter, they'll go to the second chapter. They'll only go up to 3 chapters if all at the end of that 3rd chapter they like it and they're like, there's something here. They'll put it on another pile, and that pile goes to an assistant and it gets logged in. And then what they do with that one is it goes to the meeting room. And I like this. Maybe the assistant has read it, written up a description of it, a pitch, what they call a pitch, and the editor pitches it to whoever the person is who handles their division for choosing which manuscripts to consider. But they'll continue. If it goes farther than that, it's given to an editor, and the editor sits down and overnight basically reads it. And then they come back to the next meeting and they say, yeah, I want to do this. Because it's the editor that says, I want to do this. And here's the reason why. And they're the one that negotiates with the department head, the division head, whether or not you're going to be considered. So it's all the luck of the draw, because if they don't like your premise, your genre, that's why we never, if we're turned down at one publishing house, we never take that as an insult, because it just means that editor you got, they didn't like your style, they didn't like your topic, they just weren't into it. Maybe they love cowboy novels and you gave them a princess in distress novel. Right. Here is a rule. This is real. And I think it's even changed now. It's gone down to a lower percentage. This is not to deter anybody, but it's with traditional publishing, it's a reality check. And it's something that we as writers have to apply to our indie status. Only 4% of all submitted manuscripts to a publishing house gets accepted for publication. They get millions. They get billions.
Wow.
Today it's only 2%. But there's a reason for that. And that's because they're because of how expensive everything is with paper and all of that. The hardcover books has changed, and they're not publishing as many. They work with what's called formula writers. Formula writers are like your Dan Browns. Maeve Binchy was a formula writer. Each big house has a formula writer. They can go to that person and they can say, okay, next one. And they know it's going to be the same formula, different scenario, same kind of characterization, but they've proven they have a readership, an audience out there that just adores that kind of novel. Nonfiction is different. Okay. So again, industry standard manuscripts formatting exists to remove distraction and allow publishers and editors and agents to really evaluate your writing, not your layout choices. So give yourself. I'm never going to submit to a traditional publisher. Don't rule that out. Every book you write, why not write it as if it's going to a traditional publisher? You're going to ante up your skill as a writer in your manuscript presentation. And it's going to change the game for you as a writer, even as an indie. And here's the thing, traditional houses don't mean that you are a better writer than an indie writer. Okay. However, what it does say is that you made it. You really made it if you're in with a publishing house, right? But if you never try, you never submit, you don't know that. Jonathan Livingston Seagull. I don't know if you are familiar with that book written by Richard Bach. He sent that to 99 publishers. He received 99 rejections before it was contracted. And today, how many years later, it is still a #1 bestseller.
Wow.
So you can't, one no doesn't mean anything.
Hmm.
I'm going to talk about it right now because we're here, and even though when we get to it tomorrow, I'll probably just say, remember, okay, there is a law, a natural law in the publishing world that circulates with us writers. When I wrote my first book, An Act of Woman Power, I wrote it in '88, and then sent out, and it got published in 1989. It was my first book, little tiny book. See, look at that, little tiny book. It was not even according to. It was only, listen to this, only 159 pages long.
Hmm.
Nothing. It's a nothing book, but it was my personal spiritual journey on a path of awakening, an act of woman power. So I I was dating this guy. I'm sharing this story because these kinds of stories make it real and bring it in. They bring it in home. I was dating this guy. He had his own business, and uh, uh, in '89, I don't know, I can't do the math, but in 1988, let's see, I was born in 58, 68, 78. I was 30. I was 30 years old, okay? And I had boxes and bookshelves of journals and diaries and newsletters that I put out. And I mean, all the stuff that you guys have. And um, I left a job. I left the construction industry because there I was going to 9 to 5, getting paid really well. And on the weekend, I spent the entire weekend collecting signatures for a slow growth bill in Orange County. But yet I was working for a land developer that would buy virgin undeveloped land, rape it, and put homes and office buildings on it. So I was like a contradiction. I walked in that next morning, next Monday morning, and all I said to him, I went into my supervisor's office and sat down. He's like, "What can I help you with, Kisma?" And I said, "Unemployment." And he was really shocked because I was a good position in that department, and so I told him what I had just done, and so I said, "I'm a contradiction," and I guess, I mean, how can this isn't my belief system. He said, "Okay, I'll just say, what do you want me to say? I don't know, personality conflict." because, he's like, well, are you sure? And I'm like, well, you put whatever you want. Can you help me get unemployment, please? And he did. I got unemployment and I went home from that job. And interestingly enough, I had dressed all in pink that day. Don't you think that's kind of interesting? Like so vulnerable and just like maybe even a little raw, you know? And I went home that day and I laid down on my couch. And 4 days later, I got up off of that couch. I mean, yeah, I went pee and stuff like that, but I didn't eat. I just laid there. I slept. I was in and out of a fog as my life was rearranging, and other substantial things happened, visions and stuff like that. But I'm not going to go there. But 4 days later, I got up off of the couch. I went to my closet. I pulled out my old Singer typewriter. I cleared off my dining room table. I lived alone. I had my own place. And I sat down and I started typing An Act of Woman Power. I didn't know what it was going to be. I just knew it was going to be a book. And I typed it.
Hmm.
30 days later, because that's all I did, 30 days later, I put the last period on it and got it ready. And within a week, I sent it out for, seeking publication. During that time, my boyfriend then said, hey, I'm going to this writers group. Do you want to come with me? It was while during the writing of it. And I was like, oh, I don't know. But I went with him and we were sitting there and there was only five of us. Five is a common number for me in anything I do. But he came, the host, it was in someone's house and it was a Urantia group of all things, or in a Urantia household. And what the host said, okay, so I'm going to share with those of you here because you're here because you're a writer. I'm going to share with you the law of 13. So I listened, and here's the law. When you have a manuscript that's done and ready to go to the publisher, you send it, and this is faux pas, you're not supposed to do this, to 13 different publishers at the same time.
Oh.
Or if you have 13 finished manuscripts sitting around, you send all of them out to publishing houses at the same time, and you will get published. You'll get contracted. I'm like, oh, I don't know. This sounds kind of stupid. But there was my manuscript all done. And the last week, as I was waiting for it, doing the final printing of it, because I guess I had already made a decision to send it out 13 times. And back then, you had to have a very formal, fancy cover letter. You had to have a biography with it, a bio with it, and the first three chapters, only the first three chapters, and a self-addressed stamped envelope had to go inside of it. So I had to find out how much it was going to cost and get 13 envelopes prepared with the same amount of postage on it, and then package those all up. And plus, I was doing research because we used to have these books out. I forget what they're called now, but they had every publishing house listed in your genre that was alive and operating. And I spent a night pulling out and addressing. I sent them out, and it was like 3 weeks later, I received two contracts, two, not just one, two. And I had already decided I was going to go with the first contract I got. So the first contract came in with Shifford Press, Shifford House, Whitford Press, and they're a smaller publisher, but I went ahead and I accepted it. And the next day, within a day or two, I received a contract from Llewellyn Worldwide, which is a very large metaphysical publisher. And I didn't go with them. So I had to contact them and say, oh, God, I'm so sorry. I'm going with another one. And the woman, I remember her name, Nancy Mostad, she was the editor. She's like, Kisma, keep us in mind. for your next manuscript. I want to publish you. So I had a back burner publisher for my next book, and I didn't even have one of them published. So I was meant to be published and an author, you know. So things happen effortlessly, but that's not always been the case. So I don't want you to think about it that I'm an exception to the rule. It was the right time. It's in my stars. It's in my natal chart, my birth chart, and it just was meant to be. And that law of 13, I've shared it with two other writers, and both of them have gotten published off of that law of 13. It's a lot of investment, though. The other thing about submitting your manuscript to a publisher, don't do it online. Even though you'll do research, and some of them will say, yes, you can. No, it's not true. It really is not true. They don't, nope. Okay, I'm putting here, it's a link in the chat, and it is a link to a Google document I prepared for you, which is a manuscript ready checklist. How do you know your manuscript is ready? Well, just use this checklist, because really it may seem long, but it's going to give you real serious guidance for doing your manuscript. I write, I edit, I revise. So those are three layers. After I revise, I proofread again, right? I proofread. Is the continuity there? And this is for nonfiction or fiction, it doesn't matter. So if I proofread it and things are running smooth, then I do another major edit. I try not to revise a second time, but sometimes you can't help it, if something got distorted. And then I go back and I proofread it all again. I'll set the manuscript down if I feel like it's done. I'll walk away from it now for a week, 2 weeks. I'll come back, I'll pick it up, and I'll read it from cover to cover again. And if it flows well, if everything really works in it, then I will do formatting. I'll go over and I'll do formatting. And formatting can be a couple of pass-throughs too, because I do the formatting and then I go through and I look at I do a proofing of that formatting, make changes, then I go back and I look at it all again. It gets to a point though where your eye will stop catching errors, proof editing, so just know that. I don't have one book that's ever been published, even with copy editors, that doesn't have an error in it. We're human. But editing and revising, I mean, it's really, most writers think of proofreading, but that's not editing. That really isn't. Proofreading is you don't put a pencil mark on it. You just read it. Then you go back and you edit. All right? Make the corrections. Proofread it again. And yeah, in the beginning, I used to go through a lot of paper. Oh my gosh. I was like just a trash can of paper. I always felt bad because back then it wasn't recycling. And so I would turn them over and I would actually use the backside for my drafts. Now we can do it all on our computers. So but I'm going to tell you and I'm going to suggest to you that no matter how much work you do on the computer, you need to do your final draft. You need to print it out. You need to have it in your hands and do your final proofreading of an actual paper, unless you're doing an ebook or an audio book, and those are two different things, right? You need to see it in its hard way, because I guarantee you're going to edit something. You're going to see something. In paper, it's different than on the computer. So each editing, think of each layer, proofreading, editing, revision, proofreading, editing, revision as part of your process until you finally proofread and you're like 100%, it's a go, Um, so we're at a place now where for readiness, your editing basics, your manuscript, I want to pause here and see if there's any questions on what we've covered. We still have a little bit more. We still have another half an hour. So there's more, but I want to see if there's any specific questions on the topics that we've covered.
I
No,
can't think of one.
no, okay,
No, I think you covered. I had some questions in the back of my mind, but you've answered them.
okay.
So
Well,
yeah,
I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going, and what we're gonna look at is we kind of touched base on it, but I guess let me ask you: are you interested in looking at manuscript styles by genre? Because as indie self-publishing, you have to choose your genres, and that can make or break your book if you choose the wrong genre.
yeah,
It really can. Um, I mean, we can look at those, but we can also, you can maybe, if you have self-published, Susie, one of the things you could do is maybe tomorrow bring in maybe what you've been working with, and we can look at that, and see. I mean, well, and the other thing is the formatting. Your manuscript has to look like the field you want to enter into. So, doing a little research on how a nonfiction book versus poetry versus a novelty or hybrid, those all have very distinct looks. Now you're dealing with KDP as an indie, so they provide the templates. The worst thing a person can do going to a print on demand like KDP, which is connected with Amazon, and they're not the only one. They're just a good, solid, easy one to work with. They provide you the templates, and use their templates. Don't renegade and create your own templates, because you can easily get it kicked back. Boy, I've gone through that with a group book that we were working with. Where'd it go? I used the template, the setup in another organ publisher, Blick. No, Blurb, I'm sorry, Blurb Publishing, to set up the
Mm.
hardcover version. Beautiful, beautiful web. See, there's my 1 hour timer. Let me just put on the 15-minute or the 30 minutes now. Otherwise, I just will talk and not pay attention to time. And we'll be here tomorrow. It's true, we will be here tomorrow. I have so much information. I don't know how I thought I was going to get all of this in 2 days. Oh my gosh. Hey Siri, put on a 30-minute timer.
30 minutes, starting now.
Okay. So so I did it up in the template with Blick or Blurb, gosh. And
Cancelled. For how long?
I didn't cancel it. Hey,
No problem. I
hey.
won't.
Thank you, Siri. Okay.
You're welcome.
These AIs, that's even an AI. You all know that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I used the template with this company because definitely wanted a hardcover. This is an art book, so I wanted different quality paper. And it was beautiful, easy, published really nicely, but I wanted to have the soft cover with KDP because it's cheaper. It's less expensive. All right. And they rejected and rejected and rejected and rejected and rejected and rejected and rejected my template because of a hair thin line
Mm.
along one page side margin. It was their formatting. I didn't have any margin. It was how the template fit. into their margin. I made it larger, they kicked it back. I made it smaller, they kicked it back. And they're like, no, just retype it all in our template. And I'm like, I'm just really not going to do that. So it got put on hold. Eventually, I'm proud to say, eventually it did. It came through without any problem. It had to be altered dramatically, but this is this is through KDP. And I had to reformat certain things, but I think it was like another month of work just to reset. So don't shift publishers. Don't shift publishers. That's an important factor.
Mm.
It's just use the publisher's template. If you're gonna go with one, stick with it, use their template, be done with it. Okay. I want to just talk to you a moment about feedback and critique. It is important as a writer to get feedback and critique. I started working with reader groups. I would pull in 3 readers who would agree to my criteria, and they would read. I didn't pay them. They just got a copy of my book when it was published, and mention and a thank you in the book. But there are professional readers that you can actually hire to critique and read. You have to be very, very careful though when you go into the internet and start looking for feedback and critique. There are a lot of scammers out there, so you don't just pick something. Once you get out on the internet though, and they know you're a self-published author, you will get hounded and scammed. You will get called phone calls, you will get emails, you'll get solicited. Your book has been brought to us as a invaluable book. We want to republish it with our publishing house. They're going to ask you for about $1,500 up front to assess it. And then they'll give you shoddy work. Ex Libris, which is a independent KDP type of publisher, is the absolute worst. They farm out. They're in other countries. None of them are going to be in your country of origin that you contact, and you will have a horrendous experience with them. So what to avoid? You do have to avoid any patterns of the same kind of topic, which is your book was brought to us. I'm a literary agent. We're a new publisher. We're an old publisher. We've been around forever. Your book we saw your book out. We did this. We want to partner up with you. We really want to. We'll give you. We promise you. And it's all scam. I don't even, if it says, potential scammer, I pick it up and they start to tell me about how wonderful a writer I am. In the beginning, I used to say, what book are you talking about? And that would throw them for a loop, And then they would try to come up with the title. And I said, so do you think I'm a new author? You think I have a book, an indie book that I self-published? You obviously don't know who I am. Goodbye. And I hang up. And what I mean by that is they haven't researched me. They haven't gone to my website. They don't see that I have 22 books published, whether it's traditional or indie, 22, and that's not insubstantial. And I have traditional book publishing. I have what started to come in before print on demand. It was a form of book publication that you were more involved in it, and I did that because I got sick and tired of Llewellyn changing my titles and also telling me to change my content to make something, the fairy faith tradition into fairy Wicca, and I'm like, but this isn't Wicca, and being like shut down. So that's the only negative about traditional publishers. But who to avoid? in critiquing your book, reading your book, your family, your friends. They're either going to be brutally, well, I don't think you can make it, kind of mean-spirited, or oh, it was the best thing I've ever read. And, they're not going to give you true, honest. What you have to do is you have to really start looking for writers. You have to find writers groups and looking for other writers who are willing to be in a writer, to be a reader, and ask them to do it. And yes, you can hire people. There are people in the industry who this is their business, and they'll give you full on analysis of your book. They'll help you reveal a pattern problem, because we all have pattern problems in our book, and they'll help you reveal that. And you don't want to have a pattern problem. And those can even go all the way down to that you say one word too often in your book. You keep repeating the same thing in a couple of different ways throughout the book. Those are problem patterns, and it's really good. So, but also it's just as important that when you have someone critiquing your manuscript, that you don't lose your voice, that you start doing it the way they tell you to do it. A critiquer should never say, write like this. That's not that. Then they're trying to take over your book. Never, never, ever, ever use AI to critique your book. No, because AI wants to please you, and they'll tell you how you're so right. Oh, that's so deep. Oh, that's so wonderful. Even if you say, I worked with AI back in 2022, ChatGPT, when it first came out as an editor, but I had very specific directions. Edit this book, edit this chapter for grammar, punctuation, misspelling, nothing else. And it was my editor. It was my copy editor, and it did just that. And the other thing I did with them is put my original that I fed into you and your what the errors you found beside it, highlight where you are suggesting the change to be made. I was very ruthless with, and I still am to a degree, although I've got a different relationship now, and I work with it differently. Is this critique about my writing or about their preferences, is what you have to ask a critiquer. The last thing I want to talk about today, because it's ultra, ultra important, is copyright, permissions, ISBN numbers, Library of Congress numbers. If you're publishing in America, that is, the law can be different in different countries, so you have to check that. So I'm going to give you, I created a document for everyone also, copy, on how to register your work with the U.S. Copyright Office. Now, if you're going to be published in America, you want to do this. If it's in a different country, you're going to have to do a little research and find out what that is. Why do we do that? Well, it's called protection. So automatic copyright versus registration, that's important, because copyright is truly automatic the moment you create your work, the moment you put your name to it. You got to put your name to it. On your drafts, your name should appear every single page, even for a draft. Because what that does is it immediately claims, this page is mine. Oh, wait, this page is mine. Oh, this page is mine. It's the protection you need. It belongs to you the instant the word exists in a fixed form, meaning a document. Once you print it out. Internet isn't copyright. You need to know that. What you write is only in the internet, you never print a draft out. you can never prove that you actually wrote it. So you must get into the habit of printing out your finished copy of your manuscript before you publish. That goes into a file, that goes into your storage, and nobody can come at you and say, I wrote that. You didn't really write that. Because there are ruthless people in this world, and I'm sorry to say that. But authorship is really, there are some weird people out there. But when you take your manuscript and you actually mail it into the US Copyright Office, you're just putting the manuscript, nothing else, just the manuscript with your name, into an envelope, and you're mailing it to the Library of Congress. And what happens is they mail it back to you. And you've got a date stamp. You don't open that envelope when it comes back. I have every single book of mine. I have an envelope with the manuscript inside of it, but on the outside, it's got a legitimate legal postage. They're very clear. They're the clearest postage stamps you ever get, showing date, location, where it came from, and I think it even says Copyright Office on it. And then you don't open it, you file it away. That's in case anybody ever comes at you. And gosh, we need to talk about this next issue, and we can start it off tomorrow with it, but let's go into permissions, okay? And that's copyright for you. Now, permissions goes into using other people's work. If you have a book that you're going to put anybody else in it, it's really important for permissions. You need permission anytime you use material that someone else owns, anytime. And the use is not covered under fair use. There's no such thing as fair use laws. This includes song lyrics, poems, photographs, artwork, long quotes, any text not created by you that is still under copyright. If it's being published in a book, it's in the copyright, unless legally a public statement has gone out that has been notarized, documented, and states common law use. Everybody says, 75 years. Don't trust that. Please don't trust that. Because if a family owns it, if a family owns a copyright of a deceased author and they're still publishing it with a publisher, and you use that material because, that person's been dead 250 years, or, they've been dead for 77 years. If the family is still publishing it, it's under copyright law, and they can sue your ass. So you have to be really, really careful. You have to really research and find out. And, you just want to obtain permission before submitting your manuscript to a publisher or publishing it. So, that's a legal ramification. So it's really easy to get permission to use copyright material from most publishers. You just send them a letter and I would like to use. I'm seeking permission to use this in my manuscript, and you exert exactly what book it is, what page number it is, and most of them will be more than happy, and they'll send you back a letter that says permission granted, even if that person is dead. That's the honorable path. Do you know that one line of a poem of somebody else's that you use is copyright infringement? You've copyrighted them. One line of a lyric of a song, copyright infringement. I want to talk to you also about the fair use. for years and years and years, we were told 400 words is fair use law, as long as you cite that author. You put the book and you put the page number and you put what you're using of theirs in quotation marks. 400 words, you don't even have to get permission. Guess what?
You do.
You do. You do. Copyright, fair use, there's no word count. It's not 25 words. It's not 50 words. It's not 250 words. It's not one line. Okay, fair use, believe it or not, was a number that the publishing industry threw out. But copyright is what makes it a necessity to get permission, because a copyright is ownership. There's no such thing as fair use. They can come after you for using their name if they're that hard up. Nobody's going to do that. But I'm going to tell you a quick story. I've got 10 minutes left. Do you want to hear this really quick story? Because this is really important.
Mm.
I had a Scottish man, a Scottish author. I had become I'd become a bestseller with Llewellyn for my fairy books, my Irish fairy books. And in one of my books, I quoted him. From a book, from one of his books, I gave the title, I gave the page number, I quoted him, I clearly said this is taken from, he was fully accredited. And then a little farther down, I didn't think, it was from the same book, from the same page, just another line. It was just another line. And I even tediously counted 400 words. It's not over 400 words. I counted another line and I put it in quotation marks with the same credit information. And it always started off with Mr. Ba 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 tells us ba 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 ba, and then in the footnote, all the book and page number. He came after me legally. I remember very clearly, Ms. Stepanek, I was unmarried at the time, Ms. Stepanek has an international plot to usurp my authority and steal my readership. He went after me for $150,000, which doesn't seem like a lot, but as a writer, it's a lot of money. And his attorney got involved. My Llewellyn's two attorneys got involved, and I was advised to get my own attorney, so I did. So there were 4 attorneys on this case, and the count was I went 102 words over the fair use law, so 502 words. I fully accredited him and acknowledged him. He accused me of being a plagiarist, even though he was fully accredited. His attorney, in a conference call with Llewellyn and their attorneys, my attorney and me, it was a conference call. He wasn't part of it. His attorney said he's a nutter.
Mm.
You're not a plagiarist. You fully accredited him. Llewellyn's attorney said, you're not a plagiarist. This guy, phew. My attorney said, oh, thank God she's not a plagiarist, but the bottom line was this. I used copyright material, and that at that time thought was over fair use law of 102 words, okay? And that man wanted compensation. So my publisher was advised, I was advised to not go into a jury court, because they said, everything he's accusing you of, you're not. But if you go into a jury court, the jury will have to find on his side
Mm.
for one reason. Can you guess what the reason is?
Is
Copyright.
Yeah.
Copyright. Because it was copyrighted material. He owns it,
Mm.
copyright. And so because of that, nobody cared about the plagiarism accusation that was thrown out. The fair use, 102 words, was thrown out. It was the fact that we had not secured permission
Mm.
from that author to use his copyright. Now, listen to this. I had sent him my manuscript before publication asking if he would endorse it. That's how much I respected him. I wanted him to be what? An expert endorser. My publisher had a copy of that letter I had sent to him. They had sent him a copy asking for professional endorsement. 1 year before the book was published, he waited until 6 months after that book was published and I had become a bestseller to attack me. So all the attorneys said, if you go into a court of law, you will lose because of that technicality of copyright material. It'll be viewed as copyright infringement because of not securing permission to use his copyright. And yes, that's right. It was intentional. And they said, you will be bankrupt because in all publishing contracts, there's what's called an indemnity clause. It's a legal term. It's a legal part of every publishing house author contract. And the indemnity clause basically says you are responsible for paying all fees connected with any legalities with your published work. That meant that I would have to pay not only for my publisher's attorney fees, my attorney fees, I would have to pay for both of Llewellyn's attorney fees. I would have to pay for his attorney fees. I would be financially bankrupt. And my publisher said, and unfortunately, because of the indemnity clause, your career with Llewellyn is over.
Oh.
I lost my writing career with Llewellyn. I had another nonfiction book coming out, and I had my first novel coming out with them. It was in production, which I ended up publishing myself. This was one of my first self-publishing books.
Mm.
And but it wasn't a POD. It was with called Author House, where they handled everything. But I was ruined. I thought my writing career was completely over because of that man. And there was nothing I could do because legally I screwed up.
Wow.
I thought I had covered myself by sending him a manuscript saying how much I honored him. And Llewellyn, usually it's not an issue, but you just don't know who you're dealing with.
No. No.
I lost my $68,000 royalty check that was coming out. I lost the refund and all the reimbursement from oh my God, 10-week book signing tour up and down the West Coast.
Mm.
And so, I was bankrupt. I had to file bankruptcy after that. Didn't matter whether I lost anything or not. It was a horrific experience. So I am really here to say and drum it into your head. Seek permission. If it's copyrighted, don't trust that it's not published by family. Don't trust anything that you get off of the internet. Contact a publisher. If it's being published, contact that publisher and secure permission. They might come back and say, "Oh, it's in public domain now." Dover Publishers, everything they publish that's the only publisher. Dover Publishers, everything they publish is public domain. But if it's with another publishing house, you just don't know. And anyways, open up questions, because this was a big one. This was the big
Oh, it
for
makes me sick to think of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I typed most of mine in so that I wouldn't forget them.
yeah.
Pop them in the chat.
I'm looking.
Just out of curiosity, when you were saying about getting your manuscripts back from the US office, how do you know they've put the right one in the envelope if you don't open it? Not that I'm ever cynical
You
about these
don't.
things, but
You don't know, but the moment you break the seal of the envelope, you void the copyright.
Yeah.
right, okay. So you've just got to be
Trust.
very trusting that the right one's in there.
You
Right,
trust.
okay.
Yeah, that was your
So
first question. Your second question was, if
yeah,
you write and publish in the UK, do you still have to register in the US if your book goes worldwide? Um, is your is you're talking about KDP with Amazon?
no, just as a general question, if I was to like get to that
With a
point,
traditional publisher, you don't have to worry
yeah,
about it. With a traditional publisher, they handle all of that.
right,
They
okay,
handle all of that. But before you have a contract, I would you could even, the thing is you could even mail it to yourself. Here, if you don't want to go through the hassle, you can put your manuscript in an envelope, mail it to yourself. Boom, boom. It comes back with a postage mark on it. I've done that before too.
okay, right, yeah.
It's
And
legal.
then just don't open it,
Yeah,
right,
don't open it, file it away, put the, pencil in the title. This is my blah, 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 file it. I have every single copy of my books, either from,
okay,
in the beginning, I was paying the money because copyright, or not
mhm.
copyright, Library of Congress, it costs to get a copyright. But I'll tell you what, as an
Yeah.
American, to know that my books, and only four of them are in the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
Right, okay,
So
yeah,
I can walk in there and I can go in because I'm in the library. Everybody can, but
right,
I can because I'm in the library. Um,
yay,
so if you're going with a traditional publishing house, they'll take care of all of that for you once you surrender. Because I'm in many different countries,
Mhm.
or I used to be. Do traditional publishers check for copyright? No, they give you copyright. The moment you go
No,
with,
I meant more in the case of, like when you were saying about how you used somebody's writing from, and you need to like check that, but
oh yes, when you go with a traditional publisher, they want you to provide them with a list of anybody that you quoted.
because right, yeah, because like you read books, don't you? And people have I've read books where at the beginning of a chapter they've taken a quote from somebody, be it like the Dalai Lama or Tony Robbins or whatever, and do
Yeah,
you go to each and every one of them and say, can I use this? Or does the traditional publisher check
here's what,
as well? Or do they trust that you've done all that
no, they don't trust.
process?
They don't trust anything. So with a traditional publisher, you have to tell them who you've quoted in the book.
Mhm.
The next question out is, please provide us with the permission letter to use.
Right. Okay.
They
Yeah.
want a copy of it because they expect that
Right.
you've gone and gotten it. And if you don't have
Right.
it, they'll say you'll need to remove that.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And that's called a copy editor. The copy
Yeah.
editor goes in and checks all of the legal stuff with quotes and permissions and all of that stuff. That comes up,
Right. Yeah.
believe it or not, that comes after all the other editors have handled it. You end up having like three different editors with a traditional publisher.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you read, oh, is that part of it? Yes.
So
Yeah.
that was part of the set. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. So it's really, it's a lot is put on our shoulders, but
Mm.
we love quoting.
Mm.
I do it. I still do it. I quote and and like in this book, I don't know if we used any quotes, but I didn't get permission from anybody. I didn't get permission, but all my novels and stuff like that, I get permission. It's tedious, but I'll tell you what, as long as I have a copy of that letter and I sent it off, um, that's what I give to the publisher. That's what I put in my file, and then I just let it go because at
So
least
as long as you've
put
so
it
as
out.
long as you've got you've got a copy of that you've actually written to them, even if they don't respond.
Yeah, because you can't force anybody to, it's
No?
an effort,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. So you've just proven to show that you've done it.
Yeah, you show that you're being ethical as a writer. You're not just taking for granted anybody's work. Um, and that's important. So I want to I think I have one more, is it for today? I thought I had, did I give you two Google document links?
Yeah.
Also, okay, yeah, that's from today, and then tomorrow we have more. I mean, most of it is just, I think the big thing from today, because we're done, is just really, it's a sense of internal readiness that what you are producing, out into the world, you're covered, you are protected, you, because nobody else is going to protect you, and you never know when you're going to be unprotected until you're attacked. So, and that's always going to be over copyright. Oh, so just make the extra step of create a little form. Even have if you work with AI at all, go into your AI and say, could you create a standard template I could use for getting permission on any copyright quoted material in my book? And they'll do it up, and then you just have it, and then you just fill it in. You can even handwrite, And the other thing, again, I'm coming back to, we think everything is internet. We think everything is email, and it isn't.
Mm.
It isn't, not with traditional publishers, not with securing. Think about how many emails they get. There's billions of people in the world, and they probably have one staff member who sits there going, delete, delete. Okay, maybe this one, delete, delete, delete. And before they even look at what's in it. And you don't want to take the chance of an email submission or an email copyright permission for use, gets deleted by a staff. So snail mail is still the way to go when it comes to legal stuff. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. So
Cool. Thank
I've
you.
I've always said publishing is the snail of the entertainment industry, because it's so slow. It moves so slow, and especially with traditional publishers, you write a book, you submit it. It gets accepted, it goes through, it could be another 2 years before it even gets published and released into the world with the traditional. So, 3, 4 years, it's an old book. By the time it comes out in the world, it's an old book, and you might not even believe that anymore, what's inside of the book you wrote, but it's the way it goes. So I hope today, looking at the copyright, mostly the copyright and the legal basis was worth today
Absolutely.
alone. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent.
It's a big one. And
Yeah.
yeah. So you
So much
are you both
information.
coming back tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm back tomorrow.
Yay!
It's the same time tomorrow, isn't it?
It's the same time, and just so you know, we're really looking at how to navigate the publishing landscape out there. Um, really, really, really looking at, and I recognize that you're self-published already, but there are maybe some important things that you haven't looked at just because of coming into the publishing industry solo, as an entrepreneur, as an indie author, that, one of the things I'm going to do tomorrow is really give you some good handouts that you're going to be able to use because I'm going to give a challenge. I'm going to give a challenge. So you'll have to wait till tomorrow.
This has been really helpful. I mean, I've written a few things, and I've got like what I've written's like handwritten or been on a typewriter, and it's all in a folder somewhere, and I've not actually ever done anything with it. So this is sort of inspiring me to sort of think, right, I need to get back and start writing again
Oh, good.
because it's quite easy to, once you know how to do the process with KDP, it's quite easy to whip up a journal or a diary or a colouring book and then just set it in and it's done, Whereas this
That's
is
all.
just giving a lot of insight into what actually is entailed for needing when you do actually write a book. Because I've not written a book as such. I mean, I've done a little ebook which is floating out there in the ether somewhere. I don't even know how to find it on KDP anymore.
You,
So that was more just a dabble, really. Whereas
you
I
have a
know there's
copy of,
something.
do you have a copy of your book? The one you've
What
lost?
the Probably somewhere in my files on.
Okay, because you can research it, just type in that ISBN number.
I don't think I put that. I don't know if the ebook put an ISBN on it. Actually, I'll have to. It was. I did it more just out of curiosity to see if I
Okay,
could create one
well,
rather than actually.
yeah, and we'll be talking about ISBNs also tomorrow.
Yeah, and of course KDP when you upload it just says do you want to assign one and you just do that and it's all done by Amazon, so you don't have to like do anything there either. So it's quite
Yeah,
a nice easy process once you know what to do.
yeah, and we'll look
But
at the pros and cons of having them
yeah,
sign one or you getting your own. It's very
yeah,
easy to get your own.
yeah.
Yeah,
But to actually put out a book that I've written that is a written book
yeah.
has terrified me.
Well, don't be terrified because I'm going to give a challenge, a simple challenge, just for anyone who wants to take it. But I'm hoping you'll all take it and do it. So tomorrow, bring a couple of your, your books and we'll you can hold them up. You can hold them up, okay?
Yeah,
So
love that, Susie.
Thank you. Right, I'm going to head off because it's getting on for
yeah,
midnight.
it's late for you. Sweet
Bedtime.
dreams, sweet dreams.
Thank you. And
Bye.
it was lovely to meet you, Lauren.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's nice to
See you
meet
tomorrow.
you.
Thank you both
Bye
for
now.
being here.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.